Welcome to Sinister Stories, where the shadows move, the rules matter, and what you don't see is sometimes the scariest part. If you love a good scare, stick around, because once you hear these stories, you'll never sleep the same way again. Subscribe, if you dare. If you've ever worked a gas station night shift, you know it's mostly just standing around, cleaning up after slobs, and selling energy drinks to sketchy truckers who look like they haven't slept since the Reagan administration. That's why I took this job at Love's. I figured, easy money. My manager, Gus, looked like he came with the building. Late 60s, gray mustache stained with coffee, and the type of guy who probably still listens to the weather report on AM radio. The first thing he did was hand me a list of rules. 1. If a truck arrives but you didn't hear it pull in, don't go outside. 2. If a man in a wide-brimmed hat asks for directions, send him east, never west. 3. Don't take the trash out past 3:14 a.m. 4. If a trucker comes in wearing the same clothes as you, clock out immediately and leave. I read them. Then I read them again. Then I looked up at Gus, expecting him to laugh or say, "Just messing with you." He didn't. "You follow these, and you'll be fine," he said, sipping his coffee like he just handed me a normal set of employee instructions. "Break 'em, and you won't make it past sunrise." At this point, I was dying trying not to laugh. "Gus, man, come on. This is a joke, right? What happens if I send the cowboy west? Does he Yelp review us into the shadow realm?" Gus just sighed like he didn't have the energy to argue. "Just do your job, kid." Then he walked out the door, leaving me alone for my first shift. I spent the next few hours watching truckers wander in and out, trying not to stare at the ones who looked like they'd killed a man before. Around midnight, some dude came in and bought 5 cans of Red Bull and a pack of raw hot dogs. No bun, just loose, uncooked hot dogs. You good, man?" I asked, ringing him up. "Road food," he grunted. Then he left. "All right, absolutely none of my business." The night dragged on, mostly just me messing with my phone and trying not to think about how much highway murder probably happened around here. Then, at 2:45 a.m., a truck pulled in. Or, well, appeared. No sound. No headlights. Just suddenly there. Like it had been cut and pasted into the parking lot. My stomach twisted. Rule number 1. I stared out the window. The truck sat there idling silently, but nobody got out. The longer I looked, the more I noticed something was wrong. No logos, no dirt, no bugs splattered on the grill. Just a perfectly clean 18-wheeler sitting there, waiting. A part of me whispered, "Go outside. Check it out." Another part of me, the smart part, remembered Gus's warning. So I didn't move. I kept my eyes on my register, counted someone's, pretended the truck didn't exist. A full 10 minutes passed before it finally rolled out of the lot, silent as a ghost, disappearing into the night. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Okay, no big deal. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I just didn't hear it pull in. Then, at 3:13 a.m., my heart nearly stopped as I realized something. I still had to take the trash out, and the clock was ticking. Alright, so here's the problem. I'd been slacking all shift, and now I had less than a minute before rule number 3 kicked in. I grabbed the trash bags, booked it to the dumpster out back, and launched them in like I was going for a 3-pointer at the buzzer. Just as I was about to head back inside, my phone vibrated. 3:14 a.m. A chill crawled up my spine. For a second, I hesitated. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Some ghostly inspector gonna crawl out of the dumpster and write me up? Then I heard it. A shuffling noise, right behind me. Not footsteps. Something else. A dragging, sliding sound like someone pulling themselves across pavement. I didn't turn around. I didn't breathe. I just started walking. Slow, steady, casual as hell. Back toward the building. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, but I felt this horrible, sinking certainty that if I did, it would chase me. I reached the door, gripped the handle. Then, just behind me, a voice whispered, too close, right against my ear. "You're late." I ripped the door open and threw myself inside, slamming it behind me. My heart was trying to escape my chest. Outside, the parking lot was empty. Nothing. I staggered back, trying to steady my breathing. That's when I saw Gus's list of rules, taped behind the counter. "Don't take the trash out past 3:14 a.m. Okay, got it. Never again." I sat behind the counter, rubbing my face, trying to convince myself I'd just imagined it. That's when the bell over the door jingled. A trucker walked in. Tall, pale, wearing a flannel shirt, jeans, and a green Love's truck stop hat. The exact same outfit I was wearing. My stomach dropped. Rule number 4. He walked up to the counter, smiled. And man, it was wrong. His teeth were too white, too straight, too clean, like a mannequin trying to be human. He placed a pack of gum on the counter. "You're working late," he said. His voice sounded flat, like an actor reading lines. My hands were shaking as I scanned the gum. The rules. Follow the rules. I forced a smile. "Yeah, man. Long night." I didn't clock out. I should have. I should have just left right then. But my brain locked up, refusing to believe what I was seeing. The trucker's smile widened. Then, without breaking eye contact, he reached up and adjusted his hat. The exact same way I had adjusted mine 10 minutes earlier. I barely held back a scream. My manager's voice echoed in my head. "Clock out and leave." I fumbled for the register, slammed it shut, and grabbed my bag. "Actually, man, I just remembered I gotta head out." The trucker nodded. At the exact same time I nodded, I bolted for the door. As I stepped outside, I saw my reflection in the glass. Except it wasn't my reflection. The trucker was mimicking my every move. Perfectly. I ran, didn't look back, didn't stop until I was in my car, tearing out of that parking lot like my life depended on it. And maybe it did. I didn't quit. I should have. But the next night at 10:55 p.m. I pulled into the Love's parking lot. Gus was waiting outside sipping his coffee. "You followed the rules," he said. I swallowed hard. What happens if I don't? Gus looked at me for a long time. Then he just said, "You don't get a second chance." I went inside, and my second shift began. I'll be honest, I almost didn't come back. After whatever the hell that trucker thing was last night, every instinct in my body told me to call in sick. Or just quit. But rent doesn't care about haunted truck stops. So there I was. Night 2. At first I did everything by the book. I didn't go outside unless I was 100% sure a truck had actually pulled in. I ignored the shady old map-wielding dudes. Thankfully, no one in a wide-brimmed hat came in. And when 3:14 a.m. rolled around, you bet your ass I did not take the trash out. For a while it was almost normal. Then, at 3:27 a.m., a trucker walked in. Nothing weird at first, just a big dude, maybe mid-50s, with the kind of beard that says I've eaten gas station chili in every state and survived. He grabbed a coffee, paid in cash, and walked back out. I exhaled. No weird outfits, no wrong smiles. Just a regular customer. Then I heard it. Beep. 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 The sound of a truck reversing. I glanced out the window. The guy's semi was backing up, directly toward the dumpsters. Panic hit me like a train. No, 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 no. I pounded on the glass. Hey, don't. Too late. The truck stopped. The driver got out, stretched, then casually walked to the dumpster. He lifted the lid. I pressed myself against the glass, watching. For a second, nothing happened. Then, he froze. I saw his head jerk downward like something inside had just grabbed him. He staggered back, shaking his arms, silent, but struggling, like a fish on a hook. I yanked out my phone, ready to call 911. Then the trucker snapped upright, just stood there. His posture was wrong, stiff, rigid. Then, slowly, he turned toward the store. and smiled. No. No. The trucker walked back inside. Something was wrong with his eyes. They weren't looking at me. They were too still, like they hadn't figured out where to focus yet. "Can I help you?" I croaked, trying not to sound like I was about to throw up. The trucker tilted his head. Too far, almost a full 90-degree angle. Then he spoke, but not in his voice. It was higher, too smooth, like something young trying to sound old. "Got a restroom key?" I backed away. Yeah, man. Here." I tossed the key onto the counter because I was not getting any closer. The trucker smiled wider. Then, without another word, he turned and walked into the bathroom. I grabbed Gus's rule sheet, scanning it, praying for something to tell me what the hell to do next. Nothing. I sat there, heart pounding, waiting for him to come out. 5 minutes passed, then 10, 15. I checked the security cam outside. His truck was still running. Engine on, lights on, but the driver never came back out. At 4 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the spare bathroom key, stepped to the door, and knocked. "Sir?" Nothing. I unlocked the door, swung it open. The bathroom was empty. The only thing left was the restroom key I'd given him, sitting perfectly in the center of the sink. And written in the mirror, in dripping red letters, "You're next." I locked myself in the back room and didn't come out until Gus showed up for the morning shift. "You made it," he said. Like he hadn't just walked into a damn crime scene. I showed him the mirror. "What the hell is this? What happened to the trucker?" Gus just sighed, pulled out a rag, wiped the words away like it was nothing. Then he patted my shoulder. "You've got one more night." I stared at him. "One more?" Gus nodded. "They don't test you after night 3. My stomach turned. "Who's they?" But Gus was already walking away. I should have quit. But I didn't. I showed up for one last shift. And I prayed I wouldn't find out what happened to that trucker. I had one shift left. Just one. The way Gus said it, like I was being tested, left a bad feeling in my gut. But I told myself it was just one more night. I'd follow the rules, keep my head down, and get the hell out of this place for good. For the first few hours, things were quiet. Too quiet. No sketchy truckers, no strange sounds. Just the hum of the fluorescent lights and the occasional crackle from the radio behind the counter. Then, at 2:30 a.m., the bell jingled. A man walked in. A tall man, wearing a wide-brimmed hat. My stomach plummeted. Rule number 2. He was old, dusty, like he'd been walking the desert for decades. His coat looked heavy, out of place for the warm night. His boots didn't make a sound on the tile floor. He walked right up to the counter, didn't look at the drinks, the snacks, nothing. "Which way's west?" His voice was wrong, dry and hollow, like wind whistling through an empty bottle. I swallowed. My throat felt like sandpaper. "East," I said quickly. "You need to go east." The man didn't blink, didn't move. Then, after a long, tense pause, he nodded once. "All right then." And just like that, he turned and walked out. I watched through the glass, barely breathing. He headed toward the highway. Didn't get in a truck, didn't call for a ride. He just walked into the dark. I didn't relax until I couldn't see him anymore. Okay. One more hour. I can do this. Then the clock hit 3:14 a.m., and I realized a problem. The trash. I hadn't taken it out yet. I'm not that stupid. I won't break the rule. I'll take it out after my shift. Then I heard it. A voice. From outside. "Hey, can you give me a hand with something?" I froze. The voice sounded normal, like a truck driver. Just some dude asking for help. I knew better. I backed away from the door. Didn't answer. The voice came again. Closer. "Hello? You out here?" I grabbed Gus's rule sheet, clutching it like a lifeline. Then I saw movement through the window. A figure was standing near the dumpster, too tall, too thin, arms hanging too long at its sides. It wasn't a trucker. It wasn't human. It knew I was inside, waiting. Then, without moving its head, it smiled, a deep, hungry grin, and it stepped toward the door. I slammed my eyes shut, didn't move, didn't breathe. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then, the bell jingled. I whirled around. A trucker had walked in. A normal trucker. Or at least I thought he was normal. Until I saw his clothes. Flannel. Jeans. A green Love's truck stop hat. The same outfit I was wearing. Rule number 4. If a trucker comes in wearing the same clothes as you, clock out immediately and leave. I wasn't staying this time. I grabbed my bag, bolted for the back room, and punched out so fast I nearly broke the screen. As I turned to leave, I risked one last glance at the register. The trucker was still there. He was smiling. And as I reached the door, he reached up and adjusted his hat. The exact same way I did. I ran. Didn't stop. Didn't look back. I peeled out of the parking lot, speeding down the highway, not stopping until I was miles away. I never went back to Love's. I never spoke to Gus again. But sometimes, late at night, I think about the third rule. Don't take the trash out past 3:14 a.m. And I wonder, if I had opened that dumpster, what would have looked back?